GreY. This episode was never been showed on TV. The episode starts like any other. Peppa and George are playing outside, but suddenly Peppa notices that George is starting to pale. She asks if he's okay, but he just silently smiles. Minute by minute, George turns grayer, and his eyes grow emptier. Peppa tries to tell Mummy and Daddy Pig, but they don't see anything strange. George begins acting more and more bizarre, making eerie noises, and his teeth become long and sharp. At night, Peppa starts having nightmares, George standing by her bed with empty eyes. When she wakes up, he's standing in her doorway, just staring. In the morning, she tells her parents, but they keep smiling and say,
"Don't worry, George is just tired."
One evening, the lights in the house begin to flicker. Peppa walks down the hallway and notices all the family photos are turned face down. Strange, raspy crying comes from the basement. She goes down and finds an old VHS tape with no label. She plays it and sees George standing in the middle of a forest. Behind him, shadows move. Peppa screams, but the TV shuts off by itself. In the final scene, Peppa wakes up, alone, in a completely empty house. No George, no parents, just silence. She walks outside and the sky is dark and red. George stands in the yard, gray, eyeless. He reaches out to her and says in a distorted voice,
"You'll stay here forever."
Peppa tries to run, but the ground crumbles beneath her and she falls into black nothingness. The camera zooms in on her face, and in the last second, she opens her eyes, filled with fear, and whispers, "It wasn't a dream." Deleted Peppa Pig episode, The Reflection, which was never showed on TV. It began like any ordinary day. Peppa was in the bathroom, brushing her teeth. The usual cheerful music played, but it felt slower, off-key. She looked up, and her reflection didn't smile. It just stared. Its eyes were darker, expression blank, motionless. Throughout the day, things got stranger. When Peppa moved, her reflection lagged behind. Sometimes it moved before she did. At dinner, she glanced toward the window, and there it was again. Her reflection just standing there, staring at her from the glass. She wasn't even near it. She told Mummy Pig, but Mummy didn't look up from her plate. She simply muttered,
"Don't look too long, Peppa. You might see too much."
That night, Peppa heard whispers coming from the bathroom, faint, garbled, like they were coming from behind the mirror. She crept inside and froze. Her reflection was grinning, an unnaturally wide, stretched smile. Then it moved, fast, slamming its hooves against the glass. Cracks started to form. The screen glitched. For a moment, everything went black. When the picture returned, it was morning. Mummy Pig walked into the bathroom. Peppa stood by the sink, brushing her teeth like nothing ever happened. But just before the scene faded out, the mirror showed two Peppias, one brushing her teeth and the other behind the cracks, still grinning. The episode ended with no credits, just a silent black screen.